Hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar. Oh, I think we've lost Emer there, Eddie, have we?
We did, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll just give it a minute there for people to log on. There's a few people logging on there now. Just welcome everybody to the webinar this afternoon. The webinar is by Eddie Shanahan. And if anybody has a question, or we'll have a Q&A at the end of the presentation, and there's a Q&A box at the bottom and a chat box. So if you want to just type in your questions and we'll deal with them at the end of the presentation. So, okay, I think I'll hand you over there now. Eddie, we might as well get started there now.
Okay, Mary, can you lose all of us off the screen? Is that possible? Can you lose us off the screen, Mary? Great. Good afternoon, everybody. Today's webinar is about how to make a show of yourself, your craft, your skills, your point of difference, and the logistics and creative approaches that help to create engaging consumer experiences. I hope it challenges you and challenges you to think differently. While all has changed utterly in recent times, a few guiding principles remain true, even in the most challenging environments. These guiding principles focus on presenting the values and value, the inspirations and stories behind our brands, and on creating an engaging experience for consumers. We can use them in store, online, on a market stall, even in a studio setting. Thoughtful, thought-out events, whether live or digital, allow us to explain our point of difference, to upsell our product ranges, to explain our sustainable credentials, and to help discerning customers to buy less by buying better. The consumer forecast, Consumer 2022, published recently by WGSN in the midst of this pandemic, speaks of the emergence of calm commerce, a thoughtful, simpler time with an opportunity for local artisans and makers to leverage a new empathy for their efforts and their offers. So what values will you offer the new considered curatorial consumer? And how will you construct and tell your story? What points of difference will you highlight? Your natural materials, your quality, your local sustainable handmade collection? And will you bring some fun to the heart of that presentation? You must prepare. Think about the logistics required. Make a plan. What products or suites of products will you feature? Think about the pieces that work together, that you can cross-sell to increase your transaction values. What imagery or point of sale materials will you use, and in what format? Will you use print, digital media, or both? Will you need power, water, tables, locked cabinets, personal protection screens, sound equipment? Will you negotiate windows or hotspots with a partner retailer, or even do a demo in a window? Will you create an engaging impact for your work on the landing page of your website? After all, a store is a store, online or off. And that landing page is your online shop window, and your departments are signed through proper categorization. How will you promote your event? Will you cross-promote with your partner retailer on social media, or work with other non-compete makers to promote fairs and studio experiences? You know, sometimes imagination buys more than money. Remember the advice of the late KARL Lagerfeld. The key word of our profession is desire. We have to create desire. And that's what you have to do. You have to create desire at your in-store events, on your market stall, at your studio, in your online shop. So design your event with the consumer in mind, because that's how you ensure there's something in it for you too. Talk to your retail partner about making an impact with a statement window display. Ask if you can have a hotspot in store. Heed the one window, one message principle. Be clear in your messaging, and be sure to respect your brand values in the way you present your collection. That advice applies to your online communication too. So what will the message be? What do you have to say to your customers? Which of their problems or challenges will you solve? Will it be gifting, cookery, decorating, the essentials of a trans-seasonal wardrobe? Clarity in communication works everywhere we practice commerce, everywhere we interact with consumers. Be inventive, be distinctive, be a little crazy if you want, but with a purpose. That purpose is to engage, to create desire, and to sell. When I worked at Arnott's, we bought an old VW camper van and covered it in wallpaper and carpet, fitted it with some hangers and a music system, and set it in the middle of the man's shop. It instantly became a talking point, a selfie destination, and a fantastic hotspot from which to sell. It seems UGG had a somewhat similar idea with their warming station. Rai Kawakubo, founder of the Dover Street Market, has built a whole proposition on similar quirky ideas. This is not just a garden shed. This is the information desk, the cash and wrap point, the center of operations at the Dover Street Market in London, and a particular talking point for consumers who visit one of the most talked about experiences in the world of retailing. Maybe you're not on that scale, but you can apply that attitude and aptitude to your market stall, your studio, or your online presence. So what might a special event include apart from the basic logistics? A Meet the Maker opportunity is always popular with customers. They love to chat to you and discover the magic in what you do. Of course, it can be done digitally, though I do know from working on the Create project with Brown Thomas that sales are maximized by a maker's presence on the shop floor. Think like a customer for a moment. Have you seen a jeweler at work, beating silver black and blue with what look like medieval implements of torture, grinding and filing the metal in pursuit of the slowly emerging treasure? We face a challenge around such demonstrations with social distancing, but not impossibility. Demonstrations, live or digital, inform, entertain, and show off the alchemy of the making process. Advice on use and care adds value and engagement to a customer's experience. Good point of sale materials do not just attract the eye, they can pierce the heart with powerful messages too. How about this for emotive impact? When life's little surprises turn up before you expect them, what you really need is just a little reassurance. Gifts with purchase and competitions add to the customer experience too, rewarding and adding interest and fun. Competitions can be used to cleverly inform and seduce the consumer. It may be some time before you can again use a try on and win approach for your scarf or jewelry collection, but you can pose a question that encourages the consumer to research or explore your full collection. You can run an online competition asking customers to select their favorite piece from your archive and rediscover, even reintroduce some of your best sellers as a result. You can encourage collectors using limited editions that add value and urgency to buy. You can solve a time-poor customer's problem with gift wrap that elevates service. And you can use window and hotspot displays to add a sense of occasion and importance to an in-store event. And a clever maker will certainly use his or her presence in store if the opportunity arises to train staff in the provenance, process, quality, and care of a collection, making them confident brand ambassadors. A digital staff training pack would work equally well. When telling stories, think about consumer motivation. While there's an emotional and a rational aspect to almost every sale, be particularly aware of the power of emotion. Customers buy memories, not cameras. They buy health and wellness, not vitamins. They buy quality of life, not houses. So what fulfillment do customers buy from your brand? Do you think like a customer when you're telling a story? Because it's not about you. It's about what you do, how you do it, and who you do it for. So ask yourself the question, my products and collections enable who to do what? That should be at the heart of your story when you're making a show. In store, online, in your studio, at a craft fair. Everywhere and anywhere you promote and sell. I love this example. Goldie Rocks is a music store in Cork. Look at the sign in the middle of the window. It simply says, help for musicians. On message, on song even, just what the doctor ordered, just what the customer needs. So before you go out to tell anyone your story, ask yourself, what is your value proposition? What problem do you solve for your customer? Where is the gain for them? What emotion is fulfilled? And how are you going to tell them? Sometimes creating an impression is simpler than we think. I love the advice of Michael Eisner, the former chief executive of Disney. Brands, he says, are developed for better or worse, cumulatively over time, and are the product of 1,000 small gestures. 1,000 small gestures, like introducing the face behind the brand, the story behind a print, the care advice that will give confidence to the purchaser of a piece of fine porcelain, the gift wrap that adds value and excitement and solves a customer's problem in more ways than once, or even a vase of fresh flowers in a shop or studio. Customer experience is built on these simple gestures, and so are strong brands. As they say at Harley-Davidson, the secret of our enduring brand lies in delivering an experience rather than just a collection of products or services. And as I've often said before and will often say again, strong brands are distinctive. So what is your point of difference? It pays to know and it pays to tell. What are you? Are you a candle maker or an alchemist who can advise me how to transform my living room? Are you a ceramicist who makes mugs or a creative maker who produces a wonderful collection that will transform my dining table into a feast for the eyes? Are you someone who follows the leads of the big beauty brands and leverages the power of three? You know it well: cleanse, tone, moisturize. Perfume, cologne, body lotion. Building suites of products offers an opportunity for a conversation, an opportunity to upsell, a way to increase the average unit sale and therefore the average transaction value. It is a profitable concept. You know it well: cup, saucer, plate, ring, bracelet, earrings, bag, purse, shopping tote, birthday card, gift tag, wrapping paper, sofa, chair, stool, glasses, decanter, water jug. You know it well. Do you do it well? It's about thinking like customers, offering a one-stop shop, a solutions-based approach to product development. It accents desire and inserts a consumer pull rather than a seller's push into the sales process. Merchandising is vital too, wherever a consumer encounters our brands. We can leverage the power of merchandising to accent our brands and collections offline or on, and ensure they sit in the right adjacencies to other complementary brands in an in-store situation. Good point of sale imagery is another powerful tool, elevating simple everyday products into lifestyle combinations and statements that go well beyond elementary use. Professional photography is worth its weight in words, describing quality, revealing craftsmanship, compounding value. It can be used in studio, in store, or online, when you're there or when you're elsewhere. Better still, we can use animations and videos to show the process, the skill, and the drama involved in making not only that, but also to demonstrate how to use and care for collections. Good images call out key points of difference and components of value. This vase is undeniably handmade. There are people, processes, stories, traditions behind the skilled creation of beauty, and we can still access enduring craftsmanship, however rare, in these days of mass production. Good photography makes the point right before your eyes. You know, sometimes memory can be curiously selective, but I will never forget an evening some 25 years or more ago at a fitting for a press fashion show in Dublin, when I asked a designer to tell me a little about her collection, about the women she had in mind when creating it, or the provenance of the fabrics she used. To my astonishment, she replied in just 3 short words, spat out with considerable indifference. It's just stuff. Are you using all the tools at your disposal to tell the stories behind the products you make? Or is it just stuff? Telling stories adds value. How much would you expect to pay for this scarf? 25, 50, 100 euros? What about 300? Now you're probably comparing it to others you've recently seen online or in the high street. But if I tell you the design was created in the Pucci studio and printed on silk woven in Florence at the Antico Scientifico Fiorentino, on looms designed by Leonardo da Vinci, then an entirely different value comes to mind. You can make impact with creative graphics, just like you can with good photography. Color draws attention. It draws attention in windows, on hotspots, in merchandising presentations, online and off. It draws the eye, accents, highlights, and shouts out a message in a large or busy environment. Digital technologies allow us to animate our brands and collections in clever ways too. Here, a fashion show proceeds between the hanging garments in a Prada store. This is a sign marking the Helmut Lang archive at the Mack Museum in Vienna. It sits on top of a long, undistinguished rectangular grey box with little sign of any garments, save 8 or 9 small accessories, suspended on a glass-covered wall. But there are drawers on each side of the long rectangular grey box. The drawers are locked, but each drawer has a QR code. There's an iPad on the long rectangular grey box, and when you scan the QR code on each drawer, it shows images of the garments stored within on the first fashion show on which they were ever featured. The impact is quite amazing. You can add further impact by expanding your message across several screens, or right up through a whole building like they do at the Dior store in London. Whatever level or approach you choose, remember you can always learn from other disciplines. And remember too, the best you can is judged against the best there is. I think of branded bags as mobile merchandising. If you have a distinctive one to use at an in-store event or at a craft fair, it can often be a talking point, a point of engagement. If you can't afford a specially designed bag, then you can be inventive by using a plain color, accented with a contrasting tissue. At least it's 1,000 times better than wrapping your beautiful work in yesterday's tabloid newspaper. But if you are investing in a special bag, maybe you would follow the lead of the Robinson Crusoe bookstore in Istanbul and use it to tell your story. Each side of the bag is laid out like a dictionary, one side in English, the other in the vernacular of the city. And here's what it says. Robinson Crusoe, the hero of Daniel Defoe's novel, The Surprising and Strange Adventures of Robinson Crusoe of York, Mariner, published in 1719. 2. A bookstore with a distinctive style of its own, located in Pira, Istanbul, on Istiklal Street at number 389, a warehouse established in 1994 containing choice books, an archive where books are displayed and accessible to all, a town square, the gathering point not only of those who look and listen, but of those who see and hear as well. A library where one goes not only for buying books, but also to search for them and ask about them and browse around, sniffing the pages of and encountering, discovering, and even writing books. And here am I, half a continent away, telling you about it. Just like a bag, packaging can speak volumes about your brand when you're not present in store, or when a customer discovers it online or even on the street. Some brands are recognized and coveted for the engagement their packaging offers. Just ask Tiffany fans. Packaging can be simple and elegant. Packaging can be clever and fun. Packaging can be useful, like this box. It converts to a garment hanger. Packaging can be engaging even when it's this simple. I'm going to take time out now to tell you about a novel in-store event. It evolved through a consultancy project I worked on for a pharmacy group wanting to distinguish itself in the market. Men, I was told by a very experienced pharmacist, do not like going to pharmacies. So I decided we should hold a men-only night at the pharmacy. But men will not come on their own to a pharmacy, she protested. So they weren't allowed. They had to come in teams of 3, to play indoor games, to win money for their favorite club or charity. They would also receive refreshments and complimentary samples, as well as advice for living well. We distributed posters around the local sports clubs and social centres. By 7:30 on the appointed night, they had arrived in their groups, but hung around outside as if terrified as to what might befall them within. Eventually, we persuaded them to come inside, where various games were placed around the pharmacy, radio-controlled cars to be driven on a twisting course, indoor hoops to be scored, a putting machine, and so on. Each game was supervised by a staff member wearing a name badge. The games began. After 20 minutes, we interrupted to announce that one of the pharmacists would like to speak to them for just 3 minutes about men's cancer. She spoke for exactly 3 minutes, to stunned silence, with eyes either fixed on the floor or the door. Then, to much relief, the games began again. The second interruption was to ask if they knew how to buy a fragrance for wives, partners, etc. Scheduled for just 3 minutes, it expanded into an orgy of promiscuously spraying themselves with everything from Hugo Boss and Paco Rabanne to several exclusive potions from the Darphan women's collection. By the end of this sequence, all had learned not to buy the same fragrance for their wives and their mothers for Christmas. The games resumed. The third interruption was to ask, do you know about food intolerance? Is what you're eating making you ill? This successfully concluded after the allotted 3 minutes. Then the scores were tabulated, the prizes presented, nobody rushed away. We had a few beers, some canapes, customers and staff got to know each other by their first names. We had some fun, gave some money to deserving charities, and each of the players, many never seen in the pharmacy previously, booked a full health screening for the following week. Because it wasn't about us. It was about what we did, how we did it, and who we did it for. That is the essence of an engaging customer experience, whatever the platform, in-store or online. Now, especially at a time when we're facing new restrictions about how we do business and engage our customers, we need to use our imaginations like this. We need to think differently. We need to create big impact images, because a picture really does paint 1,000 words. We need to embrace digital opportunities to tell our stories, show process, explain added value, and give good advice. We need to adapt and use protective screens, mini demo booths, or better still, to use store windows for maker demonstrations. How about that? We need to develop clear, engaging messages and standout point of sale graphics. Accumulating and consuming has become a defining part of life since the end of the Second World War. Despite the impact of economic paralyzation and alleged mindfulness brought on by weeks of lockdown, for some it may be hard to find a more immediate cure than retail therapy. Shortly after restrictions ease, there is bound to be some revenge buying as people emerge from isolation. This is likely to be fueled by heavy discounting, as many retailers received much of their spring-summer 20 deliveries just before they were forced to lock up shop. Excessive shopping will quickly be tempered, though, by rising unemployment, as many jobs will not exist as a result of the impact of recent weeks on the economy and the challenges of social distancing across all sectors as we move forward. That impact may be much more severe than the previous economic crash, with the potential for tax hikes and a new era of austerity. Retail will continue, I believe, to be multi-channel, involving services and opportunities that deliver best for our individual customers, whether click and collect, showrooming, online direct, bricks and mortar stores, or a combination of these. This is possible. Our supermarkets and pharmacies have shown us how, right through the most challenging days of the crisis so far. As retailers struggle to survive and return to market, we need to consider collaborative business models and partnerships with them that work for both of us. This may include consignment, often referred to as sale or return. The arrangement must be fair, especially to the maker who is funding the stock. I would propose a model where the maker supplies the stock on a sale or return basis, with weekly payment for stock sold for a clearly defined and limited period, and thereafter, advance orders to be placed. After all, you will have proved your ability to sell. The maker should have the right to replenish during the term of the agreement. The retailer should own shrinkage. The maker should create an in-store event or animation, and the retailer should offer window and hotspot supports. In time, such partnerships could inform a wider long-term wholesale strategy for makers that might include 6-monthly reviews with retail partners, measuring store performance against market performance, rewarding above market growth or supporting below market performance with gift with purchases, exclusives, or other animations of the brand in store, including events, editions, and exclusives, and staff training subject to the rules of social distancing. As the market is poised to reopen, now is a time to be proactive, to create your own good fortune, to think ahead and plan ahead, to audit your online presence and ensure a comfortable and inspiring online experience for customers. And speaking about plans, have you thought about Christmas? The most important time of the year for most makers. How will you leverage the desire for gifting, and who will you partner with to make a show for your brand? Will you work with retailers who have excellent online operations themselves, with retailers keen to animate their in-store presentation, with landlords of vacant stores with vacant windows? Will you develop your gift voucher business and develop it with local corporates as well as private customers? Hope is not a strategy. You need to make things happen for your business. In conclusion, I offer the advice and encouragement given by a consumer to a chief executive of a luxury brand in a recent Tagwalk survey. It was to valorize craftsmanship. Craftsmanship is your point of difference, your added value, and for most of you, it is your passion, a passion of which you should be rightly proud. Animate it, make a show of it, go tell the world. I'm happy to take any questions, Mary.
Eddie, thank you so much for that. It's absolutely wonderful. And your delivery is just so reassuring at this really difficult time for everyone. So, okay, I've got someone who's asked a question. Hotspots, what do you mean by hotspots?
I suppose this is, can you bring me back up on the screen? Is that possible?
Mary's in command. Mary? You should be able to edit yourself. Do you see the way is your video X'd off? Yeah, we've got you.
Yeah, there I am. Good, yeah. I'm back. Thank you. Okay, hotspots. What are hotspots? We see them in lots of stores, usually inside the door, you'll find the first one. And it's a high traffic space, a small display area where you could have maybe a video clip playing on a small screen, where you could have some point of sale, or where you could actually have a display of products. But these are high traffic points, and they're all around stores. And they are really important to draw attention to events, to new brands, to special offers in shops. Supermarkets are very, very good at this, but other stores use them all the time.
Okay, I have loads of compliments to you. You know, wow, and people are finding it really beneficial and interesting. And I personally would like to, if you had to narrow things down to 3 key points, what would you be looking at, Eddie, say between now and September for our clients?
Well, I'm very aware that Emer, the team at DCCI has been working on a lot of projects, including advising people on video and photography and things like that. And this is crucial, that we use the new digital tools that are available to us. Because if social distancing continues, we will be restricted in the way we can do in-store promotions on the one hand. On the other hand, the world's our oyster. We can start making beautiful presentations, and we can now do them cheaper than ever. So I think that is a very important one. We also, as makers, should realize that each of us can own our own store, and it will be an international shop the day we launch it. It's our website. It's our selling website. And there we have a shop and a shop window where we can be equally as inventive as we are in store. So if makers aren't online now, then they should engage with the executive team at DCCI, who will tell them about the programs and show them the way.
That's absolutely excellent advice. And if I could reiterate that, we're doing as much as we can to help everyone and skill you up on these aspects. So if there's a particular element that anyone would like, will you please send us an email, contact us. We also have a facility on our website. If you'd like a call back from the DCCI, you could utilize that. And I cannot thank our LEOs enough nationally with the change in the trading online vouchers. As you know, these used to be 2,500, and now they're still 2,500, but the percentage of payment that the maker has to pay has been reduced to €250.
Emer, there's one other thing I will add to that as well. And you know, I mentioned maybe that wacky pharmacy promotion, but I also mentioned 1 or 2 other things that might be considered slightly wacky. In store, be brazen. Ask, can you do a demonstration in the window? From time to time, too, there are similar opportunities. I do some work with News Talk, and we visit towns around the country. And I do a little retail survey in the days before we go live on a Saturday morning from the town. And in all of the towns that I visited in the last sort of year or 2, there have been lots of vacant shops. Some are short term, but others are much more long term. And I can remember from the previous recession, some makers were out of the traps very early to talk to landlords to say, I will make that window look good. And if you get that opportunity, make sure emblazoned across that window display that you put in, that one window with one message, has a very clear address for your website. But maybe a group of makers could get together and talk to a landlord about a short-term let, and particularly coming up to Christmas. So don't just try the old tricks, invent some new ones, and go out there and use your imagination. You are the guys with imagination. Like, who am I to tell you almost?
Yes, but Eddie, you're excellent at harnessing the imagination, and you've been very inspiring this afternoon. Is it okay, I'm getting a couple of questions, is it okay if we send a copy of your presentation and your illustrations, etc.? Is that okay with you?
Oh yes, well I think the last one we did that, so yeah,
that's absolutely fine.
Absolutely.
Okay, would you be aware of any innovative ways retailers are planning virtual events?
I think, to be fair to retailers, they're still working through the new protocols, which were just announced really last weekend, and they will address those issues probably last, the whole promotional thing, because they're now probably working through their stock balances. If they're clever, they're removing trans-seasonal stock from any discount offers they will give in the opening weeks. And I hope that those discount offers are controlled, because retailers have bills to pay, makers have bills to pay, and you need to make a profit on the goods you sell, because the cost of selling includes things that we tend to forget about, like staff wages and light and heat and all of that, power and so on. So I would think it's early days for makers, but that is an opportunity for makers. Go and talk to a retailer you know well, a retailer you've never talked to before, because they are hurting too. And now is the time for us to do more of what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. Stick together, work locally. And don't be afraid to do that, and try it. Go and ask and talk to a colleague retailer, a potential partner, and see what you can do together. Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Exactly, Eddie. Thank you very much for that. Someone's coming with gallery open nights. They can't take place for the coming months. And would you have any good ideas on ways to promote an opening for an exhibition?
You can put a gallery up online very easily. This afternoon, I was on looking at one, actually, believe it or not, before I came on here. The Solomon Gallery sent me a note saying that they will shortly be open for limited hours every day, taking very small groups, managing access to the gallery, but they've actually put up an online gallery. And I've come across several galleries in the last while. So again, galleries are made for online, beautiful, simple presentations of the art and artists. Go online. That's my first recommendation to you. But also, why not link up with other people that are opening around? So promote that online presence by going to a local hotel or even a local store and saying, if we give you a little exhibition and we install it under very controlled circumstances, will you give us a credit? So now there's a reason to attract people in and improve the hotel's environment or the store's environment. And then the quid pro quo is the publicity for the gallery. So it's thinking like that now. We're in a new situation. We have to stop swimming the old way and try some new things.
Excellent. I have here that, and I can empathize with this, that if a maker is really struggling with confidence, they'd like to look at something, and I will deal with this sort of interview training or selling in craft and design. And I think, Eddie, you would be in agreement with me that we do address this, and I'll do a session for you and seek out the relevant information. Would you think that's the best thing to do there, Eddie?
I think it's a very good idea, but Emer, I want to say to everybody listening today that craft makers are amongst the most interesting people that I've ever met on a retail floor, or in the studios I've been lucky to visit and the other places I've found them. But for them, it seems to be the best kept secret in the world, and the only ones who don't know about it are the craft makers themselves. But we love to hear your stories. We absolutely love to hear the stories. And very often we respond to those and we buy, and I know this, it has cost me dearly. I hardly have a square inch on the walls of my house, right? Because I've heard so many of the stories. And please don't be afraid to stand up and tell, we want to hear it. And that phrase I used, the skilled creation of beauty, I stole that from a wood turner, an American wood turner, who was trying to describe what makers do. And like, please understand, we love to hear about how products are made, the stories behind them, the skill and the craftsmanship. Through my working life, it is those interactions that I remember most. I remember people showing me impossible sewing in small factories in Italy. You know, I remember seeing the guys down in just outside Ventry, near Ballyferreter, the pottery studio there. I remember the first time I visited there and saw this pot just being drawn out of a pile of clay. And so what's not to be confident about, particularly now when the surveys are saying there's a whole move towards buying local. We want to stick together, work together. But I think, Emer, you're right, that a little program maybe to encourage people a little bit more and to teach them the selling skills. And also just to allow them to maybe practice that power of three, you know, so don't just sell the mug and be grateful. Offer the cup, the saucer, the plate, and assure people that they can be put in a dishwasher if they can, or if not, tell them how best to care for them. It's all of those little things that add up to the conversations.
That is so reassuring of you, and it's really lovely to have such expertise on our board of directors, and our board of directors is so keen that the wonderful stories of craft are recognised and that we do instill confidence, because craft is just fabulous, and that will be our way forward, I think. So thank you very much for that answer, Eddie. I just have a question here. Is there an Irish equivalent to Etsy whereby a secondary host can act as a shop for a craft business, thereby outsourcing the setup and management on a personal shop for a small craft business?
I'm not aware of one. I'm not aware of one. I know Etsy is quite popular with a lot of craft people, but be aware that some of the shops you supply are also trading online, and very often makers forget that that's an extra opportunity. You know, that you talk to them about supplying their online as well as their offline operations. And also for people struggling with online trading, buddy up with each other. At the Council of Irish Fashion Designers, we've done this buddy up program where we've matched non-compete members. So a milliner might work with a fashion designer, or an accessory designer with a fashion designer, and they cross-promote each other. So we also developed, in line with that, a promotional tool. It's a hashtag Irish Fashion Fridays. So today, people linked into some of our members will have seen them cross-promoting each other. So those buddies will promote each other's product, but then the whole organization gets behind that and retweets and reposts, and we're getting out there virally. So makers can work together. Non-compete makers can work with their pal down the road, or a friend they met at a conference or at a DCCI event, and don't be afraid to do that. It's these little things that cost no money that will make a big difference over the next few months.
That's absolutely a great advice. And someone's just added to this, which I think is interesting, because it is one that I had come across recently. There's Doorstep Market, but it's promoting local, but it's promoting local on a wider basis. So that's great to have that piece of information. I also have that some people are finding video and editing training a bit confusing. So I'd be able to do a separate webinar on that for you, if that helps. And listen, Eddie, everyone has been really appreciative of your time today. You give so much to the industry. So I'd like to thank you on behalf of all of our audience today, and on behalf of myself and Mary Dunn and all my colleagues at the DCCI. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much for your help. And again, my final word to everybody would be, you know, if you've questions and queries, one of the first places you should go looking is on the DCCI website. All the information is there. It's updated so regularly. When new information and new regulations are issued by the various departments, you find it very quickly on the DCCI website. So well done to all the team there too, Emer, and thanks for all your help today, and to Mary as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.
Bye, everybody.